No, but the Colts are obviously competitive with just about everybody, but are they competitive enough to get over that last hurdle or maybe two hurdles? And I think that's the question. And when we talk to Chris Ballard, it's going to be about where they are. And he joins us now here on FM 107.5 and 1070 The Fan. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
We're doing well. Thanks for taking time out of your day, because I know there's a lot going on right now, and I'll let Joe get started here, and then I got some stuff, too.
Yeah, we got a list of questions, Chris. Thanks again for joining us. I want to make this an annual thing if we can right about this time, because you don't have anything else going on, you know.
No. Hey, it's not that I'm not superstitious, but when you told me we did it at the same time last year, I said, pin it in.
That's also part of the reason. Hey, you have been very busy, and we've been talking a little bit about it, really more with your own guys than the other guys. And I guess the first thing here, did you think you were going to be a little bit more active in free agency up to this point, or at least during the first few days, than you actually were?
Well, we thought there were some good players on the market, and we dabbled in and to see if we could get something done. Just couldn't get a price point where we felt comfortable with what the player was going to give us. And we started free agency, back, right when the season ended, when we signed Vinny and Glowinski, and then been able to get Hunt done and Pierre done and Gathers done. To us, that when when it's your player who's played for you and you know exactly what he is, we feel more comfortable paying our own players. Is that to say we don't want to sign a player in free agency? No, but it's got to be at a price point that we think is beneficial for both parties.
All right, the specifics there with Clayton Gathers, I thought it was interesting he just did the 1-year deal. Were health issues involved in that decision?
Well, he fought through some things last year, and just making sure when you do a 1-year deal, it gives the player another year to show that he's completely healthy and can play throughout the season. And look, I've let it be known how much of a fan I am of Clayton Gathers. And, we think it's a good deal for both sides. Really happy to have him back and think he'll have a big impact for us this year.
All right. Health concerns there with him. Also Malik, Matthias Farley, missed last year. So I think I'm saying this, but I think you're still probably a little concerned about that position. Does the safety position have some nice depth in the draft? Is there a possibility there?
Yeah, there's some good players in the draft. As a matter of fact, we just finished doing we go through it in February once, then we spend most of March going through watching every guy again, and we like the safety crop in the draft.
Chris Ballard, General Manager of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on FM 107.5, 1070 The Fan. So, Chris, I'll ask you a question that I get a lot, and I've been asking a lot, too. We love what you've done. Love getting the players and all those kinds of things. And I respect and like the fact that you don't overpay for a lot of free agents that are out there. The question is, and I think it's a fair one, is when we look at Kansas City, when we look at the Rams and the Saints and maybe even the Vikings and some of the other teams that just seem to be loaded everywhere at that top tier, and those are the teams that are getting to that last four, how do the Colts make the jump to match that? That's the question.
Well, I'll tell you this. We were a very young football team last year, and they're going to get better. I think people really need to realize that a lot of these guys are not at their ceilings yet. Especially just take the offensive line. Do you think Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith are as good as they're going to be after a year of bullets as a rookie? No different with any of our young players. So we think our young players are continued to improve. And look, everybody has a different way of team building. And I don't know if you can sit here and say any way is right or wrong. This is what we believe in, and this is the path we're going to go. And look, if we get to a point, and you can read this as you want to read it, a true difference maker in the free agent market, I'm good paying for, but they have to be a true difference maker, unquestionably. Not the media saying he's a true difference maker, the tape saying he's a true difference maker.
All right. Was Landon Collins a true difference maker, and how serious were those talks?
Landon is not an Indianapolis Colt, so we're not going to get into players that not on our team.
All right. Jay Ajayi.
That was a loaded one. I wasn't expecting loaded
Maybe from me, but not from Joe, right?
Yeah. Chris, you just have to understand, as a player, my agent always shaded me from all this stuff, and I find it incredibly interesting and put numbers on guys, and that'll come in my next question. But specifically, Jay Ajayi is not a Colt yet, but you had him in for a visit. What does that indicate, number one? Does that indicate you just want a little bit more insurance for Marlon Mack? Does he bring something different?
I think you can see we bring in all kinds of, from now till even during the season, we bring players in and we kick the tires to see where they're at. And if we think it's going to be a fit at every position, not just, I wouldn't single out the running back position because we like Marlon Mack. And we like Naheem Hines and we like Wilkins and we like Williams. We think we got a good young stable of runners here. But I think when there's a good player on the market, you need to do your due diligence.
Okay. Specifically, and this is the most interesting part to me. You say that you've got a salary number. You got that number in mind for each player, and then I assume you've also got like contract options for like a first, a second, and a third year. So just like a Devin Funchess, okay, $10 million for Devin Funchess. When I saw that, I was like, whoa. Peaked at $10 million, but then I also saw, okay, it was only a 1-year deal. So how do you arrive at that number? And then what is the negotiation with the agent? Is it the length of contract? Is it some other things?
It's called the first day of free agency.
Okay.
Sounds like a favorite one for you.
Hey, no, but look, let me say this about Devin. So when I was in Kansas City, we really liked him. And I thought his third year in the league, he really started making progress to a point where you thought, man, this guy is really coming on. He's a big man. He's a really good athlete. I almost laugh. Everybody says he's slow. I disagree with that assessment. He can bend. He's been inconsistent catching the football. He knows that. And there's things he needs to work on, but he's 24 years old. He's young. He's got upside. We like the kid. We like the work ethic. We did a lot of research on him, and we think we can help him get to where he wants to go, and he can help us get where we want to go.
So where are you then with a Dontrell Inman? Because they seem to be a similar player. Well,
there's a difference in age between Dontrell and Funchess. And Dontrell's 6'4.5", 225 pounds. We're still working through with Dontrell. We like Dontrell a lot, and he had a great year last year, but we're still working through some details on that.
Chris, what did you learn about your football team in the postseason?
I don't think any. I almost go back to our experience in Kansas City. When we went through the 1-5 season and. When you start off that bad, you have to extend so much energy to just get back in it. And you get, when you get in the playoffs, remember we beat Houston in a similar way that we beat Houston in the first round of the playoffs, then went to New England, and I thought we just kind of ran out of gas. No disrespect for them. They beat us, and no disrespect to Kansas City. Kansas City was the better football team. But to go on the road and win in the playoffs, you've got to be, you got to be full ticking in everything you're doing. And I think having a young team that had never, look, you're talking about a young football team that went on the road and won in Houston. That is not easy to do. Everybody glosses over that like that was just
big.
Just a minor accomplishment. No, that was a big accomplishment. And then at the end of the day, we just got beaten Kansas City. A great experience for us. Not what we wanted to have happen, but saying that, we'll learn from it and we'll continue to get better and grow.
I'm going to ask this question honestly, and I mean it because I think it could go a lot of different ways, mostly good, by the way. How's Andrew Luck right now? A year on from where we were a year ago today. How's Andrew Luck this offseason?
I'm not going to lie to y'all. I have not talked to Andrew in a month and a half. So, and that's a complete flip.
Wow.
From my first 2 years on the job. So no, he's getting to be a regular guy again, which is good.
You were just saying some things there that made me think of this question. Who are you building a team to beat? You're looking at Kansas City. They're going to be stout here in the next couple of years. You still have the New England Patriots, and then you've got your the teams in your division. Who when you have to build a team to win, what do you think?
Well, number one, we're not building a team to match up with other people. We're building a team for them to match up with us. Teams that play together. I mean, I just think when you get into, they got this player, we got to go match him. There's something to that, yes, but at the end of the day, I mean, I've said it over and over again. I mean, we're gonna continue to build our fronts. We're gonna be really good up front. We're gonna get really good quarterback play, and then we'll fill in the rest as we get going. But this is a team that plays together, learned how to not lose football games, which I think is a big deal in this league. I thought when we started out 1-5, we were losing more games by our own miscues than getting actually physically beat. I mean, I can't remember one. I mean, even the New England game when we went into it shorthanded, I didn't just feel like, we were just completely outmatched where we didn't have a chance. So we'll just continue to build this team the way we believe.
And specifically in the trenches there, when you talk pass rush, Jeff and I have this discussion all the time, and I think a lot of people will go right to that defensive end. But when you look at what Aaron Donald did this year, Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox is, kind of been a guy that's done this a few years now, DeForest Buckner. Does the pass rush that you're trying to build, can that come from anywhere? Are you thinking as a group, or are you thinking specifically as that outside guy?
No, unquestionably, it's as a group. I mean, those guys are great players. I mean, Danico Autry had 9 sacks last year and missed time. I think anytime you can get pressure up the middle, that disrupts the quarterback as much as anything, and it really helps your ends because now it constricts the pocket. I was pleased. I mean, look, we want to be able to rush 4. But saying that, I was really pleased with how Matt and the defensive staff created ways to get pressure, bringing 5 and doing some different things. I mean, you got 7 sacks out of Leonard, you got 5.5 out of Sheard. We spread it out along a bunch of different guys, and that's not always a bad thing either. To me, it's how we did. At the end of the day, you want to do it with 4, but until you get that 4 right. And get those, get a dominant right end and a couple really dominant players on the front, you do it as a group.
What does Darius Leonard need to do to elevate his play? You talked about the young guys on the offensive line, and clearly we all think Darius Leonard is going to continue to grow as well. Where does he need to grow? Well, I know this with Darius. He is driven, unlike many I've been around before. The one thing about him is when he tells you he wants to be the best, he absolutely wants to be the best. So he's always looking for an edge that he can get. There's some things in pass coverage that I think, coming from a lower level, missing the OTA practices last year, some fundamental things that he can do better. I think he can get stronger. And those are all things he'll work on this offseason and in OTAs and into the season.
Is Zion Williamson making a mistake staying with basketball?
It's pretty unique
to see that guy. Put a GM of a basketball team on. I mean, is everything available for you to get a guy like that? Well,
it's so we've been big into this. So in Kansas City, we signed Demetrius Harris. Who was a basketball player. We signed Ross Travis, who's with us now. We got Mo Alley Cox. And then every time I see Williamson play, you think he could you imagine him at left tackle?
Yes.
Anywhere he wants to play. The entire D-line.
We forget Julius Peppers was a heck of a basketball player. But that's who, when you watch him, I don't know, you see some of Julius. He's bigger, which is hard to believe because Julius he was a big man too. Look, that kid, he could do whatever he wants, and I don't know if being the number one pick in basketball is such a bad option.
Not bad. Hey, Chris, real quickly, on social media the last couple of days, there's been a lot of fun happening with the Colts. First of all, have you seen these videos? Jihad Ward throwing a medicine ball through the wall at the practice facility. And did you catch Quentin Nelson's in-pool rap video?
Well, I did. The Jihad Ward I saw right away. And he's such a great kid.
Did you see his reaction?
Guilt. Jihad's got this guilt that he did something wrong. So, I mean, that was funny. And then, no, I did not watch Quentin. No, I avoided that.
It was funny. It was 30 seconds. It was just funny. It was good. It was okay. Nothing untoward happened, Chris. It's okay.
Who's your Final Four? Who's your champion in the basketball? And how much can you watch it? I know you got NFL meetings coming up, and there's some other things, on the football front. But can you take a little bit of a break and enjoy it?
Absolutely. And I missed 3 years ago, my wife and I went out to Vegas for the first weekend. We had the owners meeting, and there was just there was no workout. So I said, let's go. She was turning 40. I said, so let's head out to Vegas. Of course, that's for your birthday, and I'll sit and watch basketball all day. But it was awesome. No, I'll tell you, now look, I'm a homer, but I didn't put them in the Final Four. I mean, I love Wisconsin. They got a rough matchup. They got a rough matchup early against Oregon, and then possibly against Kansas State in the second round. But mine are Michigan State, Gonzaga, Virginia, and University of Houston.
I like it. That's not a bad four. Not a bad four.
So I grew up Phi Slamma Jamma.
Yeah.
I'm in junior high, and I mean, if you lived in the city of Houston, you were a Phi Slamma Jamma University of Houston fan, so I'm actually rooting for them.
Do you have a sport?
And I got Virginia winning it all.
Oh,
do you have a sport coat like Coach had?
Yeah,
back then.
That little hat too,
and a towel. And the towel he would just wring apart for the entire game.
So you got
shreds.
Joe's impressed with the jacket. I was impressed by Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler.
Certainly.
And Larry. I mean, they were great.
I know.
They were unbelievable.
It's a great time to always sit down and have a chat with you. Thanks so much for coming by, and we'll look forward to doing it again soon. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Appreciate
it.
Is the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. I can't tell you how much I like that guy.